This is the Project Cambridge podcast.
Thank you everyone for joining us today on what is episode 6 of the Project Cambridge podcast. And today I'm very pleased to be joined by Sharon Allen, OBE. And Sharon is the CEO of Arthur Rank Hospice Charity here in Cambridge. So in just a couple of minutes, what I'm going to do is introduce you to Sharon. But firstly, I'd just like to go through a few formalities, a little bit of the boring kind of housekeeping. So quite a few of our episodes so far, you'll know that it's based around science and tech predominantly, but it's not exclusively. And today's is a little bit different. So one of the things that we wanted to do is bring some of the important things that are actually happening here in and around Cambridge, the kind of things that people really, really care about and really, really matter to our audience. And I think today's episode is a perfect example of that. Just a reminder as well that we don't tend to record from a studio. I'm at home, Sharon's there in the office there. We don't have fancy microphones. We don't have fancy cameras. Also, I should say more importantly that when you're recording like this, sometimes a cat can get involved. We did see Poss on the last episode. I don't know if you saw Poss. We might get him or Daisy again today. Also, an Amazon delivery might turn up. And who knows, my neighbour might decide to start putting up some shelves and deciding he wants to drill. So let's hope nothing occurs today. But just to warn you, we are an authentic podcast. We're very informal, do things off the cuff, and that's how we like to be. So just before I introduce Sharon to you, I actually went to Arthur Rank back in August this year to visit Sharon and the hospice. She was very kind enough to give me a lovely tour around the building. And I was really quite amazed by everything going on there. And I was really quite touched by what I saw as well. So it was always my intention to bring Sharon onto the podcast to talk about some of those wonderful things. However, as you'll have seen in the news in the last week, local and national press, there's a lot of things, that's important things that have brought Arthur Rank into the headlines. So I wanted to reach out to Sharon and get her to come on and talk to us sooner. So Sharon, welcome to the podcast, and thank you very much for giving up your really precious time in what I know has been a really busy week for you.
Oh, well, thank you, Jen, and thank you very much for bringing this podcast forward. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and to your listeners and viewers.
Very welcome. So to anybody who's listening or watching today and you haven't ever come across Arthur Rank Hospice, so it was founded, and correct me if I get any of these dates wrong, Sharon.
Okay.
So it was founded back in 1981 to support people living in Cambridgeshire with an advanced serious illness or life-limiting condition and those in need of end-of-life care. So the original hospice, that was based back at the very bottom of Mill Road, wasn't it, in Brookfields?
That's right. And
it was there for a long, long time, but it was 2016 that you relocated to these wonderful brand new facilities down at they called it Shelford Bottom, which I always find quite funny. It's very close to Wandlebury and not too far from Addenbrooks, but you've got the kind of Great Shelford and Cherry Hinton kind of crossroads, I'd call it.
Yeah.
So that's been open since 2016. And you've also got the Alan Hudson Centre, which is over in Wisbech.
Yes.
Now, I know that the Alan Hudson Centre had been running for about 20 years, but then again in about 2016, that officially became part of Arthur Rank, and that provides day centre palliative care, and that's across Wisbech and the Fens. And outside these two main hubs, and I know you've got Cambridgeshire covered really, but there's a wealth of support that is actually provided out in the community too.
Yeah, spot on.
Good. I'm glad I got all of that right.
Done your homework. Well done.
Done my homework. So Sharon, you joined as CEO back in March 2019?
April
2019.
A minus.
I'll do my best. But you must be incredibly proud of all that's been achieved in those 6.5 years under your watch.
I am so proud of our team here, Jen. They are amazing. They were amazing before I arrived. You know, I came into a brilliant organisation and feel every day so privileged to be leading this organisation and building on the legacy of those who went before me. And since that time, yes, you're quite right. I think we've continued to develop our services, so particularly our community-based services. So we actually care for more people in the community now than we do in either of our buildings, although the care that we provide in our buildings is a hugely important part of what we do. So our hospice at home service that cares for people in their own homes at end of life is such a valued service, and we're supporting around 45 to 50 people every day from 7 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the evening. And we also have a team of specialist nurses who also support people at home. And then our 24/7 palliative care hub, which is a partnership between us and the Integrated Care Board and other partners, to be there 24/7 for people who are worried either about themselves or somebody they love, and they can just ring and speak to, again, a clinical nurse specialist who can provide reassurance, which is so important, advice, guidance, onward referral.
Such an amazing resource that goes far wider than you could ever imagine, really.
Yeah.
So if you're like me and you've lived in Cambridge a long time, or I've lived here all of my life, I was actually born very close to the original Arthur Rank at that end of Mill Road, so very, very local. So chances are you're going to know somebody that's been looked after by or at Arthur Rank. For me, that was my dad. And that was back in 1983 when I was very little. Actually, I was about 6 years old when my dad died of cancer, and he spent his final days in the hospice. I can remember going in there, and of course it's a place that's a huge part of my history. And I've got so many friends, so many people I know that have spent time there, either of the sites with their own loved ones. You know, it's so important to so many of us. Can you give us an idea, Sharon, how many people in all of those years have been supported and helped?
Gosh, well, now there's a question. So last year we cared for around 3,800 people, and that, I know that figure has been relatively constant in the 6 years that I've been here. Over the 40 plus years, well, somebody clever can do the maths quicker than me, but it's a lot of people. And like you say, Jen, whenever I go out and talk to people about the hospice, or I'm introducing myself to people and say where I work, people will say to me, oh, the hospice, they're wonderful. They cared for somebody important to them, like your experience. And that is just so wonderful. And I think that kind of is evident in the response we've had to the news that we sadly had to share, with the massive response from people wanting to support us because it matters to them. It made a big difference at such a difficult time in people's lives. And that's what we're here for. Our statement of purpose is making every moment count. And that's what we focus on, being there for people at the end of their life to try and make sure they have the best death they can, and that their loved ones have the best experience so that they can live on.
So in my head, I've tried to do the maths on that, and nobody tell me off if I've got this wrong, but I reckon it's about 150,000 people, and you're not even covering the families and carers of those people there. That is unbelievable. So up until now, how's that been funded?
So the funding is complicated, as these things always are. So we do have a contract with the NHS through the Integrated Care Board, and it might be helpful for people to understand that before, when we were based down at Mill Road, a lot of the services were actually provided by the NHS through Cambridgeshire Community Services. When we moved into the new build, as it was then, we decided to become independent, become a completely independent hospice charity. And so the colleagues TUPE transferred in and we became responsible for everything. That contract that had been held with the NHS then moved across to us. So compared to many hospices, actually we are well funded. Many hospices only receive a third or less of their funding from the NHS. We get a considerably higher proportion because of that historical thing, but nevertheless we still have to raise a lot of money ourselves. So we do that through lots of different fundraising initiatives that people will be aware of, I'm sure, things like the Bridge the Gap Walk, the Starshine Night Walk, our Light Up a Life events that we have at the end of the year, and so many other things, and our retail activities, so our shops around the county. And again, thank you to everybody who donates pre-loved goods or comes and buys their sustainable shopping from our shops. So that's broadly how we raise the money. And I know we're going to come on to talk about this. We also currently have a contract with Addenbrooke's Hospital to provide care on our inpatient unit for something we call nurse-led beds. So hospices were originally set up to provide specialist palliative and end-of-life care. And what I mean by that is people who have complexity around their illness. Not everybody who is at end of life has complexity. Some people are quietly, gently moving towards end of life, something I think we all hope for ourselves and our loved ones. But where there's complexity, that's where hospices come in. Since 2018, we had a project with Addenbrooke's to help them with patient flow, to free up much needed beds over there and to give people the kind of experience we can, and for patients to come out of the hospital into the hospice, so highly valued by everybody who's had that service. But sadly, as everybody knows now, that contract is being ended, and so from April we won't be able to provide that part of our service unless we can identify another way to fund it, and that's what we're working very, very hard on now. But it's a big hill to climb.
Wow, it is. And it was just last week, was it last Monday, last Tuesday. That it was very abrupt as well, wasn't it, that you were given the notice that it's £829,000 of funding that's being pulled. And obviously we know that Cambridge University Hospitals that runs Addenbrooke's, it's devastating news. We all know it's devastating. And so we want to talk about what that actually means. And so that inpatient, that nurse-led beds that you've got there, that needs to now be reduced from a capacity of 21 down to 12. Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
And how many people is that over a year that we're talking?
Probably around last year, I think we cared for around 220-ish. It's difficult to be precise about the figures because obviously it just depends how quickly people die when they come to us. But it's over 200 people every year who have benefited from that service, obviously apart from the years where we had COVID, where everything was a bit of a mess. But yeah, it's a lot of people, sadly, and I think it worries me. Obviously, it worries me a huge amount, and it worries me even more when you think about Cambridgeshire being one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing, counties in the country. And so from a kind of baseline of where we were in 2016, when we were caring for 12 people on our inpatient unit, the population has grown since then. We've been at 21. We're now going back to 12 with an increasing population. So the demand is going to go up.
Yeah.
but the capacity to care, sadly, is not.
Wow. So that's potentially 220 people a year. This sounds, it's quite absurd, I think. So you're effectively, at the moment, you're keeping people out of Addenbrooke's. But what this means to me is that they're going to end up going back into Addenbrooke's or staying there longer, blocking what is care, what could be care to help people get better from other illnesses and so on. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of sense going on here, Sharon. I know, NHS is it's on its knees at the moment. We know that this isn't an easy decision. It hasn't been an easy decision. No. Can you talk a bit more about this for us?
So obviously I can give you my interpretation of things, and I'm sure colleagues at Addenbrooke's would perhaps portray things in a slightly different way. So I know that colleagues in Addenbrooke's, as you've just said, across the whole system, money is incredibly tight, and they have had cuts to their funding, and they have had to make difficult decisions and do difficult things. I completely appreciate that. What I would say, though, is that it's very sad that part of those cuts is to an organisation like ours providing a highly valued service. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to quote Addenbrooke's in saying that, this is nothing to do with the quality of service we provide. This is about cost and them having to take cost out of their own budget. Could they have done it a different way? Well, I can't answer that, can I? Maybe they would say this is all they could do. I don't know. All I do know is the impact it will have on our community and for us as the local hospice.
And so I think a few people, when they heard the news, they turned around and they said, well, that's a bit strange because the government have put aside £100 million of money for hospices. But then I looked into this a bit further. That's actually for capital expenditure, isn't it? So we're talking about things like new buildings or upgrades to existing buildings. That's not going to help you keep running those 12 beds, is it?
Sadly not. I mean, we are incredibly grateful for the funding. We're incredibly grateful for any funding we receive. And actually, if I look out my window now, Jen, I can see the scaffolding up around our building because we're using our allocation of that capital funding to replace the cladding on the outside of the building that needed doing. So hugely grateful for it. As you say, not going to help one bit with this problem we've got about reduced capacity on our inpatient unit. And what we need, and all hospices need, is long-term sustainable funding to provide the clinical care that we provide, and for the charity responsibility to raise the funds for the added parts, if you like. So some of the kind of added extras that hospices bring that other places can't do. And that's really what our membership organisation, Hospice UK, is working so hard on our behalf to try and persuade all the people who have the ability to make this change to properly fund hospices, so that we're not having to continually go out and bake a cake, open a shop, jump out of a plane to keep services going.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about the jumping out of the plane in a little while, actually. Funny you mentioned...
I've never done that, I have to say.
Funny you mentioned
one of my colleagues did recently.
Oh, really? We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
I wanted to go into a little bit more detail for anybody that hasn't been into this new Arthur Rank building. I say new, it still feels new to me. It's 9 years old at Shelford Bottom. So a little bit more detail onto what actually goes on behind the doors there. So I think it's really important for people to understand what kind of a place it is. So I came in August, end of August, and you come in the doors and you look to your left and you've got a hair salon there, which I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So the hair salon, that's not only just for people that are coming in and out and they haven't got time to go and get a haircut, but that's also you can go around to the patients' beds, can't you, and give them a haircut, because everybody wants to have their dignity, and for some people that's having a nice haircut.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Which I thought was amazing. And then
Yeah.
you kind of look straight ahead and you've got your lovely bistro,
Yeah.
which all run by volunteers, isn't it? And the food that
No, we do have a paid team.
Oh, do you?
Yes. So the colleagues that cook, our chefs, they're paid, and some of the front of house are paid. And we have a lot of volunteers who we just couldn't do what we do without, in every part really of the hospice and what we do. So they're in our shops, they're serving afternoon tea on the unit, they're serving you behind the bistro, they're keeping the gardens looking beautiful. So it's everywhere is pretty much a mixture of paid colleagues and volunteers. Sorry to interrupt, but
that's okay. And they're all legends. And
yeah,
you bought me lunch, and we had a really, really nice lunch, actually.
Yeah.
I know that's a big kind of meeting place for people that kind of want to come in and talk, and obviously people that are spending a lot of time there with their loved ones, they need somewhere to go and eat. So it's a vital place.
Yeah.
You've got your little gift shop in there.
Yeah.
And also I remember when I was sitting in the reception waiting for you, the receptionist, they had a therapy dog running around there.
Yes.
Oh, look at that. And we have loads of these therapy dogs.
We do. And last week we had alpacas.
Did you? Wow.
I know. I just looked out my window again, because where I stand, my laptop is facing out the window. So if I glance up, and I just glanced up and was like, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting to see that.
Wow.
But
that's crazy.
That was the patient on the unit who'd wanted that, and it was organised, so it was lovely.
Why not?
Exactly.
And I know people can even have their own pets come in and visit them.
Of course.
I don't know if you might have to sort of draw the line at horses and things like that, but
outside they can come.
Yeah, why not?
We've had horses, donkeys, you name it. Do you know what my little saying, Jen, is, so long as it's not illegal and it's not going to hurt anybody, the answer's yes.
Go for it. Absolutely. And then a little bit more of the things that you've got in the building there. So you've got your multi-faith room. So it's not all based around Christianity. You know, there's stuff there for all kinds of faiths to go and pray, or just spend some kind of reflection times there. And then you've got a room for music. I did see a piano.
Yes, we've got 2 pianos actually.
You got 2 pianos. Wow. And then you can even open up that space to hold patient weddings as well, which I thought was really beautiful.
Yeah.
You've got your sensory garden.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your fitness suites, and a place for arts and crafts. You've got a library. You've got a really cool conference space. If anybody has got an event that they want to host, go and speak to Sharon, because they've got some amazing space there.
Yeah.
And this is all before we even step into the inpatient part of the building, isn't it? Can you talk a little bit more about the general vibe in the building and what that's like?
What a lot of people say to me, Jen, is that the minute they walk into the building, they just kind of go, oh, and their shoulders go down, because it's a really calm environment. It's also a place that's really light. So the building was so well designed to bring light in wherever possible. So I think people who haven't visited a hospice, and anybody watching this who would like to come and have a look round, we do host open days. You can go onto our website and book onto one of the open days, or just get in touch with me. I love showing people around because I'm so proud of what we do. So people say to me, everybody makes eye contact with you, everybody smiles at you and asks how they can help. So it's a very calm and warm environment, I think. It's busy, but not kind of manically busy. And all the corridors are really wide. It's fully accessible for anybody who has any mobility concerns. And it's just a really welcoming place where hopefully people can come at a very, very difficult time in their lives and feel immediately cared for, nurtured, and bringing some of that calm environment.
it is an absolutely beautiful place, and
Mm.
I didn't feel like I was coming into an environment where people are dying.
No,
It didn't have that somberness.
no. No, I think a lot of people, when they first hear the word hospice, and I'll be honest, before I'd been to a hospice, so a dear friend of mine was cared for in a hospice in another part of the country, and when I was going to visit her, I was nervous, and then when I got there, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this, and I think that's what a lot of people think, which is why I'm really keen to get as many people as possible over that threshold so that we can take away any fear or concern about what it might be like, and that we've built relationships with our community so that if people need us, and not everybody's going to need our care, but if you do, we already know one another. You know what you're coming to. You know, as you say, what a warm, bright, welcoming place it is.
Yeah. And that leads me on to the living well services that you've provided. So not everybody that comes into Arthur Rank is coming in because they're going to die imminently. You know, they might have just received a diagnosis, a terminal diagnosis, that they're probably not going to be around for too much longer. But they want to come in, firstly, to get some support, but also because they want to enjoy life. And the things you've got going on there are really cool. And I've got some things in my diary that I want to come to. If I can squeeze them in, there's a couple of things that I think would be really cool. So you can come in and get some support, but you can also take part in some really cool workshops. So you've got art classes, you've got music, but that support is there, just to talk to people about what they're going through, what they can expect. And what I thought was really helpful was that you're able to give some practical ways of dealing with those last few weeks or months, and not just for them, but for their families and carers. And I think you call it getting your ducks in a row.
Yes.
Because if you're fortunate enough to know when your time is going to come to an end, and you want to make sure everything's prepared, don't you?
Yes.
But where to start, you know, and that's one of the things you help with, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, again, a lot of people are slightly taken aback when you start to introduce them to a living well service, because they think, but you're about end of life, aren't you? So one of the things we really want to help people understand is that we're here to help people who have been told that sadly their disease is not curable. And again, make people aware that we're talking about any life-limiting illness. We're not just talking about cancer, but we're talking about things like motor neurone disease, multiple sclerosis, heart failure, COPD, dementia, anything that's going to shorten somebody's life, and they need the kind of services we provide, then that's what we're there for. And also, not everybody who comes onto the inpatient unit comes because they are dying. Some people come in for pain and symptom control. If they've got complexity and their pain or their symptoms are just unmanageable at home, they can come in and our skilled and knowledgeable team can get things sorted out, and then they go home again. But to go back to the living well service, that service is there. Our saying about that is it's to support people to live as well as they can for as long as they can. So when somebody's been told that sadly their disease is not curable, they can be referred into the service. The team will do a holistic assessment focused on what matters to you. So for some people, that might be their physical symptoms. I can't manage the fatigue, the breathlessness, the anxiety. For other people, it might be really practical. You know, what aids and adaptations do I need at home? What benefits can I access? For others, it might be more psychological. I can't come to terms with this, or my family won't talk about it. Whatever it is, or any combination of those things, then the team will work with the person to put together a program of activities, and they'll come in one day a week for 8 weeks and do a whole range of different activities, including perhaps some complementary therapy, some talks from different organisations, as well, of course, as that peer engagement with other people who also are living with a life-limiting illness. And then at the end of the 8 weeks, they're discharged from the service. They can be referred back in if things change and they need further support. And we also have a scheme called Caring Communities. So if we're concerned that the patient and or their carer is at risk of isolation and they would like it, we can link them with a volunteer who will then follow up and go and visit them at home for a further 6 to 8 weeks, just to make sure everything's okay and they're connected into community-based services. And we run that service at Shelford Bottom. We also have a smaller Living Well service at our centre in Wisbech.
That's fantastic, so much. So I want to talk a little bit more about the inpatient unit. And I did have a walk around there with you as well. Again, not what I was expecting. But this is ultimately where people are coming, and they're going to be spending their last few days or weeks there. And what I really noticed, first of all, is that it doesn't seem like too much of a clinical setting in there. And then all the rooms, really nice rooms. You've got big TVs in there. And each of your rooms has got a beautiful little courtyard and a little garden. So you know, bird tables and things like that. And as we spoke about, you know, you can even have your dog or your cat come and see, or your horse or your donkey or your alpaca. I want to know the weirdest animal that you get in there, Sharon, for sure.
Okay.
But what is also lovely is how much space that you've put aside for visitors and family, and breakout areas for them as well, which is really important. And you've got your lovely big dining table where people can come and sit round and eat together. And you've got your TV room as well, and your family room, where people can really sort of make the most of their time together. No need for clock watching. It's open whenever people want to be there. Also, another thing I wanted to mention was that you don't have to worry about car parking charges there, because you know, it's not like Adam Brooks where you've got to pay about £5 for an hour or something criminal. And then something that was actually really important to me, because it took me back to the time that I spent in Arthur Rank with my dad as a kid, is that you've got toys for kids and a room for teenagers. And just that everybody's really welcome in there. And it seems like you've considered everybody's needs around, you know, those final days.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely what we're trying to do, Jen. And you've described it beautifully. And I think one of the things that we really pride ourselves on in the hospice is that our care is holistic. So we're not just focused on the patient, but we're also caring for their family, their loved ones, however people define family, and whoever it is that they love. And we know all families are different. And I think there's also a sort of still a bit of a perception that hospices are maybe just for kind of middle class people with cancer. That's not true. We care for people who are homeless. We care for people who have mental health issues, people who have drug and alcohol issues, people who have complex family dynamics. And we do all of that. And as you say, there is no visiting restriction. You can come and stay for as long as you want. The rooms are big enough that if somebody wants their loved one to stay with them, we can put an extra bed in and they can stay. You know, it's very comfortable. And all those things you've described about the outside environment. And again, I can see part of the unit as I look out my window now, and it's not such a nice day today, but on beautiful days like we had yesterday, people are often wheeled out in their bed if they're not well enough to get out of bed, but they want the fresh air and they want to hear the birds, they can be wheeled out. And these are the really important things about that focus on making every moment count. These are the memories that loved ones will hold after the person they love has died. And these are the things that will make those last days for patients as good as we can make it. And that's what we want to be able to offer to everybody who needs it.
Yeah. And when we were also walking around the building, you showed me a beautiful apartment within the building where I know, most people are going to be fairly local because it's serving people in Cambridgeshire, but, going from one end of the area to the district to the other, if people need to stay overnight and families want to be together, you've got this amazing apartment where you can get about, I don't know, 6-8 people in, can't you? It's like it's got a nice balcony, and I thought that's so good. Do you get many people that use that resource?
We do, yes. So we've got 2 lovely family suites, as you say, fully en suite, lovely bathroom, a little kitchenette, TV, double bed, extra beds, balcony, whatever you need to make it comfortable. And that's so important because families are dispersed, aren't they? So just because the person lives in Cambridgeshire, their family could be anywhere in the country or indeed the world. We have had people who've had family members coming over from Australia and other parts of the world. They need somewhere to stay. Or it might just be that the family want to be here 24/7 because they just want to be here. I can think of a family where a dad and his 2 teenage daughters stayed in the suite because it was really important for those young women to be able to spend time with their mum. So whatever the reason that it's important to people that they can be here, we want to be able to offer that facility. So we have 2 lovely family suites that are available and are very well used, as well as a children's playroom and what we call the teen den, because about 25% of the people we care for on the unit are under the age of 60, sadly. And so people of that age group will have children and young adults in their lives, and we need to be able to care for them. And that point about caring for everybody who needs what we do is vitally important to us, and that goes across the different communities in Cambridgeshire as well. And you referred earlier to our sanctuary, where we have facilities for people of all faiths and no faith. That's who we're here for. Everybody.
Everyone. Yeah. Brilliant. So we kind of we've covered all about the hospice now. What I want to do is first of all, want to, as you said, encourage people to go in and see this for themselves. Get rid of that stigma around dying and death. And I think seeing it in reality is really going to make people feel so much more comfortable about it and get rid of those stigmas. So how do people get, I know you have open days, but if someone wants to come and visit, how do they go about that?
Well, they can just get in touch with me. My email address is sharon.allen@arhc.org.uk. I will respond. It might take me a couple of days because there's a lot going on, but I'll always get back to people. Or get in touch via LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So let's go back to that funding situation. Put my teeth in. And what I want to do is for you to tell us how people can help. What can our listeners and viewers do right now that's going to be practical and chances are it could make a difference?
So obviously what we need is money, and I do appreciate that money's tight everywhere at the moment, but if people are in a position to help us financially, we'd be so grateful, particularly anybody who's able to make a longer term commitment. So maybe setting up an annual donation or a monthly donation. People who are in paid work, find out if your employer does payroll giving and see if they'd be interested in having Arthur Rank as one of the beneficiaries of that. Companies, think about your ESG and how you support your local community. Would you be able to make a long-term commitment to us? Come and talk to us about what that might look like. And I also want to say to people, because sometimes people say to me, oh my goodness, they're big sums of money, Sharon, £829,000, that's a lot of money. It is a lot of money, I know that. And the reason it's a lot of money is because that pays for the team that provides the care, and it's 24/7.
Yeah.
So, it does cost. I can't shy away from that. But
Yeah.
everybody's fiver makes a difference. You might think, oh, it's not worth it. It's worth it to us. Honestly, every pound you raise helps us continue to make every moment count. So, yeah, I am pleading with anybody who's in a position to help us out financially. Please do. Please don't think what you can do isn't worth it. It is to us. And if anybody wants to discuss any kind of funding arrangements with us, then please get in touch. We've got a campaign on our website, which is www.arhc.co.uk, and the campaign's called Protect Our Care, and there's information there about how people can support. And again, I'm very happy for people to contact me directly.
Actually, your website is really good for anybody that wants to write to their MP or sign the petition, because it's got all of the different MPs down there, and the templates are set up. You just click it and it sends your email. And I must say, Daniel Zeichner, MP for Cambridge, has replied to me not once, but twice in the last couple of days. So
Excellent.
Go, Daniel. And also I understand that Pippa Hayling, so MP for South Cam, so your constituency there, is being really responsive with people as well. So people want to go on there, write to their MPs and share their concerns for hopefully bringing this a little bit further up the food chain. It's very, very easy to do.
And I should say, Jen, in the interest of political neutrality, I have had responses from all of the parties in Cambridgeshire.
Good. That's really good. I think it's so special to so many people. So it doesn't matter your political persuasion, does it?
No.
I'd also say to people, that bistro is open to everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, 7 days a week.
7 days a week. So if you're looking for somewhere to go and have a lunch, or go and have a meeting, or go and have a Sunday roast, get yourself in there, because you'll be helping Arthur Rank at the same time, and it is delicious.
Thank you for that endorsement. I shall be going down there straight after this.
Ooh, how long will it take me to get me to Shelford Bottom? So Sharon, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. I know you're incredibly busy with the press right now and tackling this problem head on, but I'm really hopeful that we can share some of the load with you, and help where we all can, because there's lots of us that want to help. And this actually brings me on to something that you mentioned a few minutes ago about the jumping out of planes.
Yeah.
So a few of us have been talking, and we really wanted to do something active to support. So what we're doing is a skydive for you.
Oh wow! That's fantastic.
We're organising a skydive, and some of the details are still need to be ironed out. And we're not going for the 7,000 feet one. We're going for the 15,000 feet one.
My heroes.
Tandem skydive. So yeah, we're looking into that. So Project Cambridge is gonna help put that together and draw up some enthusiasm. I'm just creating a new page or a link on the Project Cambridge website where people can come and show their register their interest. For now, we're looking at April next year. I don't know if you know Sally Field from Cambridge Wireless. She's been making a few phone calls to see how we can do this most effectively. But I'm going to pop a link to that. Brilliant. So anybody that wants to join us and come and raise some money,
we'll share it as well. Thank you.
And you said you hadn't jumped out of a plane before, Sharon.
I wondered when this was coming.
Can I twist your arm?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yes, go on. So that's 6 of us already, I think. Come on, everyone, join in.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me, Jen. I really, really appreciate it, and it's been lovely to see you again.
You too. So that's all for this episode. Thank you everyone for joining us, and it'd be great if anybody listening or watching today can please spread the word among your networks and friends. We'll pop the details of Arthur Rank website up for you, so you can find out how to you can go and have a look on the website, or we'll show you how to get in contact with Sharon. And I'll also pop the details of the charity skydive up there for you as well.
Did I really say yes to that?
You did, and it's
I did.
in.
I did. Actually, it's something I've wanted to do for ages, if I'm honest.
Let's do it. So anyway, I'm going to let Sharon go and have her lunch in the bistro. I'll be back with you guys here on Project Cambridge podcast shortly. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am about some of the guests that we've got coming on soon. And so I really hope that everyone's going to tune in with us again soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been the Project Cambridge podcast.